And away we go with true or false and yes or no questions from our Football Insider subscribers. And we're going to start with this one from the 717 area code. True or false, Baker Mayfield will have a better year in wins and quarterback rating than Josh Allen and Lamar-Jackson. Mary Kay, what do you think?
It's a great question, because I think we have to really look at the Baker that played in the second half of last season. He was dynamite down the stretch. Again, take it with the tiniest grain of salt in that he didn't face the best of the best pass defenses down the stretch. But nevertheless, he was like the second hottest quarterback in the NFL after the lights came on for him. So with everything that he's got going for him this year, including a much better defense that will support him in the way that they couldn't last year with takeaways and such, I think he does have a really good chance to be statistically great this season. And so I do think that there is a chance that he could end up with more wins and a better quarterback rating than those guys. So it has to be then both of those two, right?
Yeah, let's say both.
Okay, let's say both. I'm going to say false, though. I'm going to say false. I think it might be a little difficult to eclipse both of those guys for a number of reasons. But yeah, I think he's going to have a great statistical season. But I'm going to say false if it has to be both.
I think the Browns will win more games than both those teams. So I think that will hit. I don't know that the Bills are going to keep going up. I mean, that was a pretty great year individually for Josh Allen and for the team last year. And I'm not betting on an exact repeat of that. When you look at the quarterback rating, like QBR last year, Josh Allen was 3rd in the league. Baker was 10th. Lamar-Jackson was 7th. I do think it might be hard to catch Allen in a rating like that. But I don't know. I spent all last season. I was like, I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to come on this podcast and start praising Josh Allen. I'm going down with the ship. I'll be in Canton being like, I don't know about that guy. Sure, he's in the Hall of Fame, but how accurate is he? So, I think that Baker and the Browns are ascending, and I don't know if that's true as much for the Ravens and Buffalo. It doesn't mean that the Ravens and Buffalo are descending, but I think the Browns might be still headed up the mountain a little bit and move past them in almost every way there is to move past them. So we saw what Stephon Diggs did for Josh Allen last year, and we didn't really get to see what Odell Beckham Jr., when he's connected and fully healthy with Baker for a year, could do. So I'll bet on Baker for both. I'll say true. I'll say Baker leads both those guys in passer rating, and the Browns win more games.
I think Lamar-Jackson is going to be better this year than he was last year. And I think Josh Allen is going to be worse than he was last year. And I don't mean that in a bad way. All right. I'm not going Team Doug here on the Josh Allen. I'm not jumping on Doug's car on the Josh Allen train. Just speeding.
What's wrong with Team Doug? Come on, Team Doug, Dan. There's plenty of room.
I don't know that I think Josh Allen is going to complete 70% of his passes again. I don't know if he's going to put up the types of numbers he put up last year. I think he's going to have a good season. I think there's going to be some regression, just like there was with Lamar-Jackson last year. But I think Lamar-Jackson will be back a little bit closer to what we saw in his MVP year. I don't think it's abnormal for a guy like Josh Allen to have a regression. I think Baker is kind of going to be stable. I think he's going to be a little closer to what we saw in the second half of the year. So I think the Browns are going to win more games. I would say true on that. I still think Josh Allen will come in with a better rating than Baker Mayfield. And Lamar-Jackson's going to be close. The two were pretty close last year. So I'm going to say false on that second one. But I think these three statistically, and it's hard just because they're all such different quarterbacks, I think statistically, though, they will be close.
It must be remembered that Josh Allen also has that continuity. So he is building from year to year. And Ken Dorsey, who is an excellent quarterbacks coach, was just promoted to passing game coordinator. And then they still have Brian Daboll there. And I think Brian Daboll has done a phenomenal job with Josh Allen. And so much of the development of these young guys has to do with your coaching staff and how these guys are bringing them along and playing to their strengths. So I don't know. I mean, I believe enough in those guys. Now, had Brian Daboll left and taken a head coaching job, I might think that Josh Allen was in for a bit of a regression, but I think they're going to continue to build on what he does really well. And he's an incredibly hard worker. So I actually think that again, it's hard to complete 70% of your passes. That's incredibly hard to do. But I still think he's going to have a really, really good season. I don't see much of a drop off for him.